Limits of the Flesh, Chapter 35, Fantasy Fiction by Azazyel. Despite how happy Rias was with me for giving the Gremory family such a wonderful gift, we didn't have the time for her to show me her appreciation, as Klee, who had somehow found Yubelluna and wrangled her into teaching her magic, had seemingly found her calling in her very damned DNA almost. The sounds coming from the training room were like a much louder popcorn maker, as Yubelluna had awoken Klee's predilection for high explosives, and with the woman being known as the bomb queen of the devils. I may need to get the training room reinforced, haha. Rias weakly laughed as we opened the door to the training room and were buffeted by the drowning noise of Klee's magical sigil sending out condensed fireballs that would bounce everywhere several times and would randomly explode, or if the bombs connected to the dummy that had a copy of the magical sigil, it would automatically explode with all its fury, sending the dummy flying around the room randomly due to the continuous explosions. I took a deep breath, turned to Rias and cupped her chin, making her blue eyes widen as I dipped in and stole her lips with mine for a brief moment before I pulled back and gently squeezed her chin in my hands. "Rias, I am going in," I said, smiling softly as I said my metaphorical goodbyes and approached the manically giggling Klee, who was sending bombs everywhere. "No, Jake, we can send AI in," Rias called out dramatically as she raised her arm towards me as though she could pull me back to her with her pure desire. I sadly shook my head as I looked mournfully at Rias. Unfortunately, EI is cleaning up the kitchen after trying to make mac and cheese and instead used oil instead of water, which almost ended up burning down the kitchen. "Rias, it has to be me. Just don't forget me," I said softly as I turned my back to Rias and walked into hell. "Mwahaha, I am the bomb princess, haha," Klee manically screamed out as she ran in a circle around the indoor track field throwing bombs everywhere. "Klee, I need you for something," I yelled, not telling her to immediately stop what she was doing, as that would trip the childishness in Klee, and although she was loyal to me and did just about anything I asked due to her not imprinting on me after first she awoke to sentience, she could be petulant if I just up and ordered her to stop doing what she found fun. "Master, look," Klee excitedly yelled, seeing me, and then she threw up her hands and a large magical sigil appeared above her. From it came an indistinct large teddy bear magical construct, and I blinked in surprise before paling as I realized the damn bear of doom was thrown directly at me. "Klee, you are so grounded," I yelled as I encased myself in a sphere of power of destruction similar to a Kaden from the Hyuga clan of Naruto, as I had long realized the power of destruction was my best pure offensive and defensive method for when I couldn't make physical contact with an opponent other than my sacred gear. After narrowly surviving Klee's newfound hobby, I thoroughly chastised her for literally throwing a bomb at me, though I couldn't bring myself to lay my hands on her in a spanking or whatever. But making her cry as I kneeled in front of her and told her explicitly how disappointed I was in her for carelessly throwing bombs at people, especially me, I felt that was a good enough punishment directly from me. Not to mention me, but EI and Monet were likely to take her aside and probably punish her further for attacking me. "Well, let's go get a kino so we can head off to the underworld," I said after I got changed into a nice dress shirt and some slacks, so when I met Rias's parents I wouldn't look like a smoke-covered bum, as Klee's explosives made me a bit messy. Rias wordlessly took my arm, and we were engulfed in a flash of crimson light as she teleported us both back to the ORC. Akino is likely in the main club room doing some paperwork she needs to take care of as my queen. But she is happy you brought forward a reason for us to return to the underworld and be able to skip using the dimensional train to directly return," Rias explained, and I hummed in thought. I wanted to ask why Akino wanted to talk to Venelana, but I think it's possible Akino may have taken Rias's mother as a bit of her own mother figure after she was taken in by the Gremory family. As I considered that, I had a thought that struck me as I realized something rather pointedly that could change many things in DxD. If I got the Sephiroth Grawl either within myself or had Valerie Teeps under my thumb. Like taking some DNA from Akino's mother, the grave perfectly recreates her body, and thus when Valerie uses the Grail, the spirit of the deceased could be put into an identical copy of their previous body, and thus there wouldn't be a physical or spiritual rejection. Now my mind was whirling as I tried my darndest to figure out how the hell I could get the damn Grail into my hands. I was even mentally drawing up plans to attack the Teeps castle in my head, but I quickly realized that despite me and my creations and reaching high class, if not ultimate class in terms of raw power, we were simply hilariously outnumbered, as the Teeps castle was a stronghold that had held strong despite the church making assaults on it constantly due to the thousands of humans every year that got taken there for food or were brainwashed into being slaves via vampires' innate mind control. Yeah, devils were bad and all, with their evil pieces sucking up humanity's potential by taking their sacred gear wielders and other such nonsense. But devils weren't wholesale slaughtering humans for their blood like the cattle they were to the vampire clans. Thus, the Church honestly hated the vampires more nowadays than they hated devils, especially with how close Romania and its many vampire clans were to Italy, the home of the Vatican, the head of Church faction of the Abrahamic faction. Not that they didn't hate devils or anything, as they most certainly did and would gladly kill any they found that didn't have the backing of a devil noble family. But the vampires simply were shameless in how they captured humans wholesale in the southeastern part of Europe and pushed the Church to cover up the human losses as some kind of human trafficking or gang warfare or any excuse they could use to cover how a whole town would be emptied of its occupants to never be seen again. "Hey Rias, I got a question." I started wryly, and Rias looked at me with a raised eyebrow as I collected my thoughts. Honestly, I had no chance of barging in and stealing Valerie away, but I needed her out of Rizabem's reach and I had a good bargaining chip to use otherwise. "Do you think Surzex could be convinced to do something potentially really stupid if I offer a good enough trade?" I asked dryly, and Rias looked at me with a raised eyebrow as we approached the door to the main club room where Aquino was supposed to be. Rias bit her lip and shook her head before she responded. "Jake, what kind of stupid act would he do in order to get whatever you are offering?" she asked, and I threaded my hands through my hair as I ruminated on the cost of just creating a kaiju to attack the castle before sneaking in and trying to steal her away. "Look, you know how I wandered the world a good bit before I settled down here in Klee," I started, and when Rias nodded, I went on about how I had taken a small trip to Romania, and through a series of coincidences I learned that a damper or half-vampire had the Longinus Sephiroth growl and was being held against her will in her castle tower due to being a woman and a damper in the male-dominated vampire Teeps clan. "Yeah, her name is Valerie Teeps or something." As I said her name, I saw Rias's face twist in shock as she realized that Gasper's but sister was still alive after Gasper and her fled the castle, and she ended up picking up the trapped vampire. But I wanted to know if it was possible for Surzex to help extract her from there so I could use her sacred gear. With it, I could bring back Aquino's mom to life after I remake her a real body, I said excitedly, and Rias's face went still as she looked past me, and I froze as well. The door to the clubroom audibly creaked as Aquino fully opened it, and Aquino looked at me with naught but pure desperation as she realized that my plan had a high likelihood of success. Not to mention anything about just Aquino's mom, but I could bring back all the extinct devil clans, and with that amount of value to the devil race I wouldn't be surprised if Surzex himself decided to live in my house to keep me safe.